This story followed a lion cub named King, who unexpectedly entered the life of a young girl named Ines. Along the way, the movie showed a beautiful friendship between a wild animal and a human, and honestly, it turned into a surprisingly emotional adventure. The story began with a quiet girl named Ines, who didn't like talking to people very much. She preferred being alone most of the time. Ines also had a younger brother named Alex. Unlike her, Alex was playful, immature, and scared of almost everything. One day, Alex secretly placed pieces of raw meat inside Ines's school bag as a prank. When Ines opened the bag and found the meat, Alex started recording her reaction through the crack under the door. The moment Ines realized what he was doing, she grabbed his phone away from him. Alex quickly tried explaining that some kids had dared him to do the prank, but he hadn't uploaded the video yet. Still annoyed, Ines threw his phone outside the room and slammed the door shut. Soon after that, the movie shifted to an airport, where we met a police officer named Paul. He was talking on the phone while leading a search team near the airport grounds. They were desperately trying to find a missing lion cub that had escaped earlier. The cub had last been seen near Tokyo Airport. Paul's supervisor warned him that if they failed to find the animal quickly, the situation could become dangerous. The cub still hadn't received its vaccines, meaning it could carry a serious infection, and if it attacked or bit anyone, their entire unit would be held responsible. After saying that, the supervisor walked away. Back at home, Ines sat alone in her room, staring at an old photo of her mother and quietly talking to it. It became clear that she deeply missed her mom and still carried resentment toward her father. Looking at the pictures, she sadly mentioned how her dad had run away to Brazil and didn't even return for her mother's funeral. Later, we met Louise, the stepmother of Ines and Alex. She was in the kitchen preparing food for everyone. As Louise served Ines dinner, Alex suddenly walked in and started licking the crab sitting on the table, just to annoy his sister. Then he jokingly asked if she was still mad at him. Louise sat down with them, and at that moment, the TV news reported that police had arrived at Discard's middle school to search for the escaped lion cub. Coincidentally, it was the same school Ines and Alex attended. Excited by the news, Alex immediately rushed off to tell his friends. That night, after dinner, Ines went to sleep in her room, but sometime later, she suddenly heard something fall nearby. Startled, she grabbed a flashlight and slowly looked around the room, feeling like someone was hiding there. Then she froze. Sitting quietly on her bed was a lion cub. Ines instantly realized this was the same cub that had escaped from the airport. But instead of panicking, she gently spoke to it and promised she wouldn't hurt him. The next morning at school, some boys took Alex's phone and asked where his sister was. Nervously, Alex lied and said Ines stayed home because of a stomachache. After that, the boys returned his phone and walked away. Meanwhile, Ines stayed home watching news reports on her laptop while observing the lion cub carefully. Curious, she tried figuring out whether the cub was a boy or a girl. When the cub suddenly jumped around the room energetically, Ines laughed and decided there was no way it could be a girl. That was when she officially gave him a name, King. A few moments later, Louise called out to Ines from downstairs and asked if everything was okay because she thought she heard strange animal noises coming from the room. Trying not to panic, Ines quickly lied and said she was simply watching wild animal videos on her laptop. Even then, Louise started walking upstairs to check on her, but Ines quickly stopped her and said she shouldn't come in because it might distract her from work. Louise trusted her and kindly replied that if she needed anything, she could always ask for help. Then she walked away. After that, Ines started secretly showing King around the house. While pointing toward Alex's room, she joked that it was the dirtiest place in the entire house and claimed the horrible smell came from her brother's socks. According to her, it smelled like something had died in there. King wandered into another room, and Ines explained that it used to belong to her parents, though now it no longer really felt like theirs anymore. King jumped onto the bed and immediately started chewing on the bed sheets. Watching him, Ines admitted that Louise was actually a very kind person, but for some reason, she still couldn't bring herself to accept her as family. King stared at her curiously. Then Ines asked if he was hungry and quietly brought him downstairs into the kitchen to feed him. As King ate, Ines softly admitted that she wasn't very good with people, and honestly, she wasn't great with animals either. But King kept growling because he was still hungry, so Ines locked him safely inside her room and decided to sneak out to buy more food for him. Unfortunately, Louise spotted her leaving the house and immediately asked where she was going. Ines quickly told Louise that she was just going out to buy a few things, but in reality, she went shopping for a huge amount of food for King. Meanwhile, back at home, Alex heard strange noises coming coming from upstairs. Curious, he sneaked into Ines' room and finally came face to face with King. Alex got excited instantly. He even took a selfie with the lion cub and uploaded it to Instagram. But right at that moment, Ines walked into the room. Angry, she demanded to know how he got inside. Alex excitedly explained that everyone was searching for King, but they could secretly keep him for themselves. According to Alex, they could do something fun with him every single day. But Ines didn't find any of it funny. She shoved Alex onto the floor, sat on top of him, and warned him that King was staying with her and her alone. Then she threatened that if he told anyone about King, she would upload embarrassing photos of him pretending to kiss an imaginary girlfriend. Watching the siblings fight, King started making nervous noises. Trying to calm him down, Ines softly assured him everything was okay and that the argument was over. Then she kicked Alex out of the room. Later, Alex checked his Instagram post and was shocked to see it getting tons of likes and attention. Seeing everyone react to the picture made him surprisingly happy. Soon after, we met Hugo, who happened to be Officer Paul's son. Hugo noticed Alex's selfie with King online and immediately showed it to his father. Paul and Hugo quickly headed out together. A police car soon drove past Ines' house, and seeing it made Ines panic. For a second, she thought the police had already discovered King was hiding there, but the car continued driving away. Back inside her room, Ines showed King old family photos. She pointed at a picture of her mother and sadly explained that her mom had died 2 years earlier. Then she admitted that her father had basically abandoned her too. It also became clear how much resentment she still carried, because she had scribbled all over Louise's face in one of the family photos with marker. Then Ines showed King a picture of her grandfather and explained that he traveled all over the world. Smiling a little, she joked that maybe he had even met King's grandparents somewhere out there. At the same time, Louise was having a video call with her husband Martin. Martin asked if she was managing okay with the kids and warned her that Ines could sometimes act difficult or distant. Louise honestly admitted that handling his daughter wasn't exactly easy. Martin then asked if he should talk to Ines himself, but Louise stopped him and said no. She wanted to build her relationship with Ines on her own. Unfortunately, Ines overheard the entire conversation and quietly walked away feeling hurt. Later, Ines watched online videos made by a woman named Mary, who lived in Africa and rescued animals just like King. After seeing the videos, Ines started thinking about somehow sending King to Africa, where he could live safely. The next morning, Louise was busy working in the kitchen when Ines came downstairs and told her she didn't feel well enough to go to school. Concerned, Louise asked if she needed to see a doctor. But before the conversation could continue, Alex suddenly walked in and awkwardly asked if he could stay home too, so he could help Ines. Immediately realizing what he was trying to do, and quickly made up an excuse. Embarrassed, she claimed she thought she had started her period. Louise gently asked if she wanted to talk about it, but Ines replied that she had already discussed those things with other girls before. Just then, everything changed. Because of Alex's Instagram post, the police finally arrived at the house. The moment Ines saw them outside, she ran upstairs to her room and urgently told King they had found him. Thinking fast, she explained that they were going to escape and travel to her grandfather's place, which was nearly 200 kilometers away. Using Alex's bicycle, Ines secretly fled the house with King hidden inside a bag. Eventually, they reached a train station. Ines quietly told King he needed to stay hidden for just 2 more minutes, then carefully zipped him back inside the bag. Meanwhile, Louise was desperately searching everywhere for Ines and Alex. While looking around, she ran into Officer Paul and asked if he had seen 2 children nearby. Paul looked confused and asked if they had gone off with him. Hearing that, Louise immediately asked, "Who are you talking about?" Meanwhile, Ines boarded a train with King hidden inside her bag. But just as she settled down, Alex suddenly appeared out of nowhere and scared both of them. After calming down, Alex fed some food to King and asked Ines where she was actually taking him. At first, Ines tried avoiding the question, but Alex quickly figured it out on his own. She was planning to send King to Africa. Confused, Alex asked how she expected to reach Africa by train. Ines explained that first they needed to find Max. Alex asked who Max was, and Ines revealed that Max was their grandfather. Alex immediately remembered him as the strange old man they had only met a couple of times. According to Alex, Max seemed more like a criminal than a normal grandfather, but Ines defended him. She explained that Max worked in import and export and shipped goods all over the world. She truly believed he would help them get King safely to Africa. Trying to entertain entertain King, Alex held him near the train window and pointed outside, joking that he would never see sights like this once he reached Africa. But suddenly, Ines noticed police officers moving through the train toward their section. Panicking, she quickly told Alex to put King back inside the bag immediately. Thinking fast, Ines suddenly screamed loudly, making the officers rush over to her. Pretending to be terrified, she told them a tall, bald man had threatened her with a box cutter before running away. Hearing this, the police immediately rushed off in the direction she pointed. The moment they left, Ines, Alex, and King quickly got off the train and escaped. Alex asked if Max would come pick them up, but Ines smiled and said no, because they were going to surprise him instead. After getting farther away, Ines finally let King out of the bag again, and the three continued traveling while checking directions on a map. Eventually, they reached an old junkyard filled with abandoned cars. Tired from the journey, the siblings decided to spend the night inside an old broken van. While eating, Ines held up some food toward Alex and sarcastically asked if he thought King would enjoy it. Alex replied that he was starving himself, but at that moment, King started growling loudly again. Alex nervously asked if that was normal, and Ines explained that King was still hungry. Then, just to scare her brother, she casually said they would probably need to find a chicken farm the next day. After that, she jokingly told Alex a horrifying story about the last time King attacked a chicken. According to her, King had started the job, but she had to finish it herself using a box cutter. Alex looked absolutely terrified hearing that. Then King suddenly let out a roar, making Alex stare at both of them in fear. Laughing, Ines finally admitted she was only kidding. A little later, Ines asked Alex if she could borrow his phone. Surprised, Alex reminded her that she normally hated using phones because she believed too much screen time caused brain cancer. Ines explained that she needed to send a message to someone in Guinea, Africa, a woman named Mary Jensen who rescued wild animals like King. But before she could do that, Louise suddenly called Alex's phone. Ines immediately told him not to answer it and quickly declined the call herself. Meanwhile, Louise was becoming more and more worried, searching for the children. While looking through Ines's room, she noticed an old photo of herself and Max. Later that night, Alex started shivering from the cold. Even though Ines often acted annoyed by him, she quietly removed her own jacket and gave it to him before falling asleep. But King couldn't sleep because he was still hungry. While Ines rested, Alex secretly sent an email to Mary Jensen. Excitedly, he told Ines that since she had seen Mary on TV before, maybe she would actually send an airplane to rescue King. The next day, Ines and Alex finally arrived near a large old building. Looking at the place, Alex jokingly imagined that once Max died, everything there would belong to them someday. At that moment, King suddenly ran off and climbed a nearby tree. Then Alex spotted an elderly woman nearby and asked if she was Max. Ines looked at him in disbelief and reminded him that Max was a man, but a second later, both of them realized something embarrassing. The building wasn't Max's home at all. It was a retirement home. After that awkward mistake, the kids eventually made their way to a laundromat. At the laundromat, Ines told Alex to stay there with King while she went somewhere nearby. She secretly picked a flower from a garden outside and walked into the retirement home next door. Inside, she asked one of the workers if a man named Vilger lived there, so Ines showed her an old photo instead. The woman immediately recognized the man and asked, "Wait, is Roberto your grandfather?" Ines nodded yes. A few moments later, the woman brought Ines to him. It turned out Max had actually been using the name Roberto the entire time. Surprised to see her, Max asked how she even managed to find him and wanted to know why she came there in the first place. Ines explained that she desperately needed his help and begged him to come with her, but Max refused immediately. Meanwhile, Alex was distracted watching videos on his phone, and because of that, King quietly wandered away again. The lion cub sneaked into the retirement home and somehow climbed onto a bus parked outside. Back with Max, Ines angrily told Alex that Max was completely useless and said they should just head back to the station and jump onto any train going toward Africa. But before they could leave, a group of people suddenly surrounded them and took Alex's phone. Right then, Max stepped in and told everyone to calm down because this was supposed to be a peaceful retirement home, not a place for fighting. Trying one last time to convince him, Ines told Max that if he wanted his money, he would have to come with them. Hearing that finally got his attention. Max climbed onto the bus with the kids and drove away with them. While traveling, Ines handed him some money, but Max immediately asked where the rest of it was. Ines explained they would give him the remaining money later once they reached their destination. Even then, Max still acted reluctant about helping them. Just then, Alex suddenly called Ines over in panic. When she looked closer, she realized King was very sick. Confused, Max asked who King even was. Alex casually replied that King was a lion cub. At first, Max burst out laughing because he thought the kids were joking. But the moment he actually saw King with his own eyes, he realized they were serious. At the same time, Louise finally arrived at the retirement home, where she met Officer Paul again. She asked if he had found the children, and Paul explained that the kids had apparently run away with her father. Louise quickly corrected him and clarified that Max wasn't her father. He was the father of the children's real mother. She admitted she was only their stepmother. Later, the group reached a toll station. There, Alex told a security guard that they urgently needed help because they had to take a lion cub to the hospital. Surprisingly, the guard actually believed them and guided them to a nearby animal hospital, but Max refused to go inside with them. Meanwhile, Ines, Alex, and King entered the hospital, where a veterinarian named Dr. Thomas examined the cub. Dr. Thomas asked how long King had been sick, and Ines explained it had started earlier that afternoon. Then the doctor asked what King had eaten recently. Ines innocently replied that King mostly ate mutton sausages. Hearing that, Dr. Thomas realized the problem immediately. He explained that King was suffering from a serious allergic food reaction and needed a cortisone injection to recover. While watching the giant injection being prepared, Alex got so scared he fainted on the spot. At the same time, news about the missing lion cub spread everywhere across TV, radio, and newspapers. Seeing how serious the situation had become shocked Alex badly. Still determined, Ines insisted they would somehow get King safely to Africa. But Dr. Thomas bluntly asked how they even planned to cross the Mediterranean Sea with a growing lion. He explained that within just 2 months, King would become twice as big and heavy. No smuggler would risk transporting such a dangerous animal. In another few months, King's claws would become razor sharp, and he would need at least 5 chickens every single day just to eat. The doctor even warned that if King became hungry enough, he could easily tear apart someone's pets, or worse. Then, frustrated, Dr. Thomas yelled at Ines and asked if she understood anything at all about raising a wild lion. Angry and emotional herself, Ines shouted back that she didn't. Eventually, Dr. Thomas agreed to keep King at the hospital overnight so he could recover safely. Thankfully, King soon started feeling better again. That night, King rested inside a large glass enclosure, while the others finally fell asleep nearby. Sometime later, Alex suddenly received an email reply from Mary Jensen. Meanwhile, Max wandered alone through the rainy streets while talking on the phone. The next morning, police officers arrived at the hospital to take King away. Realizing the kids were in danger, Dr. Thomas secretly showed them an emergency exit so they could escape unnoticed. While leaving, King suddenly noticed a massive adult lion locked inside another cage nearby. The giant lion let out a terrifying roar. Alex froze in fear, and King panicked and ran away. Soon after, we saw a group of gladiator-style performers arriving nearby for a staged fight involving a lion. But before the event could begin, King suddenly appeared in front of the crowd instead. Everyone started laughing after seeing such a tiny lion cub, until King suddenly bit one of the gladiators on the leg. Chaos erupted instantly. Ines rushed in, trying to reach King, but security guards blocked her path. Right then, Dr. Thomas drove in with his car and released thick smoke everywhere, creating the perfect distraction. He quickly told Alex to drive the car and escape with Ines. The only problem was, Alex had absolutely no idea how to drive. Still, he somehow managed to start the car and speed away with Ines beside him. As they escaped, Louise spotted them and immediately began chasing after them in her own car. At the same time, Officer Paul received a message over his radio saying that a gladiator had just been injured by a lion cub. During the chase, Ines and Alex suddenly spotted Max standing by the roadside. Alex slammed on the brakes, and Max quickly jumped into the car with them. A second later, Louise pulled up behind them, honking loudly and demanding they stop the vehicle. But Ines refused to stop. Completely confused by the chaos around him, Max finally asked the question everyone was thinking: can somebody please explain who that woman is? Then Alex explained to Max that Louise was actually their stepmother. Hearing that, Max quickly managed to lose Louise during the chase, and the group eventually escaped deep into the woods. Once things finally calmed down, Max asked the kids an important question: how exactly were they planning to reach Africa? Ines honestly admitted that they were counting on him to help, but Max immediately shook his head and said he couldn't do it. He claimed he hated traveling and that long trips made him sick. Confused, Ines reminded him that he supposedly owned an import-export business. That was when Max finally revealed the truth. He admitted he never had any business at all. Surprised, Ines asked if her mother had lied to her, but Max sadly explained that her mother barely ever talked about him because she had every reason to be angry. According to Max, when Ines's mother was young, they often struggled just to find food. Instead of staying and supporting his family, he ran away from his responsibilities. Still, he claimed he called her almost every single day afterward, until eventually she stopped answering his calls completely. After a long silence, Max finally looked at the kids and quietly said he would at least try to help them now. That night, Ines and Alex slowly fell asleep while talking together beside King. But unfortunately, someone nearby spotted the lion cub. Meanwhile, Louise stopped at a garage to repair her damaged car. While waiting there, she received a phone call from Martin and explained that Ines and Alex had disappeared. At the same time, Max was busy talking to someone on the phone when Ines suddenly asked where King was. Max looked around nervously and admitted he had no idea. Everyone immediately started searching for him. A few moments later, Ines finally spotted King nearby. But before she could reach him, police officers fired a tranquilizer dart into King using a dart gun. The cub collapsed to the ground almost instantly. Ines tried running toward him, but Alex stopped her before she could get caught too. Soon, Officer Paul locked King inside a cage and transported him to a nearby animal clinic. Heartbroken and furious, Ines blamed both Max and Alex for losing him and stormed away angrily. While Paul transported King, his son Hugo secretly recorded everything and uploaded the video online. Paul noticed what he was doing and warned him to stop, promising that later they could do whatever Hugo wanted. But Hugo ignored him. Meanwhile, while Ines and Alex were walking along the road, a group of strangers suddenly picked them up in a van. At first it looked suspicious, but then the kids realized these people were actually King's fans from social media. They showed Alex a viral video, revealing that King had been taken to Alfred Fournier Clinic. The moment they saw the location, the kids immediately headed there. But because Hugo's video had gone viral online, Officer Paul now desperately wanted to find the person responsible for posting it. At the clinic, Ines tried opening a locked door, but couldn't get inside. Then Alex surprisingly managed to unlock it using his ATM card. Once inside, Ines finally found King and tried sneaking him out quietly. But suddenly, Officer Paul appeared and smashed through the door before grabbing her. A few moments later, Louise rushed over to Ines and worriedly asked if she was okay and where Alex was. But Ines still refused to talk to her properly. Meanwhile, Alex and Max had been locked inside a cage nearby. Luckily, as a doctor walked past them, Alex cleverly stole the keys from his pocket. The two escaped immediately. Then, thinking fast, Alex and Max released all the dogs trapped inside nearby cages. Within seconds, the dogs started chasing Officer Paul through the clinic, forcing him to run away in panic. During the chaos, Ines hugged Max emotionally, relieved he came back for her. Then they freed King from his cage and prepared to escape again. Louise desperately asked Ines where she was going now, and Ines calmly answered that they were taking King home to Africa. Soon after, the group escaped together in a van with King. While driving, Alex asked Max if he had finally found a real address or contact in Africa. Max lied and confidently claimed he had everything under control. Then he called a woman named Elizabeth and told her he needed to ship some cargo urgently. At first, Elizabeth refused completely, but Max kept pressuring her until she finally agreed to help by that evening. However, she warned him about one important thing. The cargo absolutely could not be illegal, and it definitely couldn't be heavy. Meanwhile, Hugo and Officer Paul continued chasing Ines's van. During the drive, Hugo secretly started showing live videos on Instagram. Paul noticed and asked what he was doing. Trying to hide the truth, Hugo casually replied that he was just watching a movie. Paul told him to stop watching videos immediately and put his seatbelt on. At the same time, Max finally admitted something painful to Ines. There was no way all of them could go to Africa together. King would have to travel alone. Hugo then tried distracting his father by talking non-stop, slowing Paul down during the chase. Eventually, Ines and Max arrived at a harbor where Max claimed a ship called K9 would take King safely away. But when they got there, there was no ship. Realizing the truth, Ines angrily accused Max of lying to them again. Right then, Officer Paul finally caught up to them. But before anyone could react, King suddenly jumped onto a nearby boat. Alex quickly started the engine, and together with Ines and Max, they escaped across the water. Paul tried stopping them, but Hugo finally stood up for the kids and told his father not to chase them anymore. Then Hugo showed Paul all the videos he had secretly recorded the entire time. A few moments later, Paul's supervisor arrived at the harbor, along with Martin. The supervisor immediately jumped into another boat and continued chasing after the kids. But when she finally caught up to them, she realized something surprising. Only Max was on the boat. Martin angrily confronted him, but instead of answering seriously, Max burst out, laughing loudly. Meanwhile, Ines and King had already escaped by swimming to the other side safely. Just then, Max received a phone call, confirming they needed to head to Dock Q9. Instead, Ines and Alex quickly rushed there with King. At Dock Q9, they met a man named Ikeb, who was supposed to transport King to Africa. Ikeb pointed out that none of them were Max. Ines explained that Max couldn't make it. Ikeb then told them to hurry and load the animal onto the ship. Still unsure if she could trust him, Ines demanded that he first explain exactly where he was taking King. Ikeb calmly replied that it all depended on whether they trusted him or not, because the ship was leaving in just 5 minutes. Alex begged Ines to let King go, reminding her they had no other option. But Ines hesitated because she feared Ikeb might secretly sell King instead of saving him. Alex gently tried calming her down and reminded her this was what they had fought for the entire time. Finally, with tears in her eyes, Ines helped King board the ship. Before leaving, she nervously asked Ikeb what King would eat during the journey. Ikeb smiled and assured her they had plenty of food, including 20 chickens, and joked that King could always eat fish too. After that, Ikeb said goodbye and sailed away with King. Then the movie revealed that 10 days later, King finally arrived safely in Africa, where a wildlife reserve team was already waiting for him. Back home, Alex unexpectedly became a huge star at school because of everything that happened. And with that emotional ending, the movie came to an end. Sometimes the people who feel the most alone just need one true friend to change their life. If this story touched your heart, then don't forget to share this video with someone who loves emotional animal adventures. And subscribe to the channel for more amazing movie recaps like this. Thanks for watching.